Hello, Internet. Welcome to No More News Live. I am your host, Adam Green. Thank you for joining me today, Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022. We are live on Odyssey. We will be archived on Odyssey as well as on BitChute. NoMoreNews.org to find all the links on Twitter, Telegram, Gab. We're going to be looking over some of the news that has been transpiring about Russia and Putin and Ukraine. I was supposed to do this stream last night, and I had some kind of glitch or tech problem. I was supposed to, I tried to stream on Odyssey, and it wasn't working. It was going to the restream. Didn't even mention that I'm on there. Doesn't matter. But, and it was flowing through something. It's the first time Odyssey ever glitched, so I didn't get too angry. And I actually streamed for 20 minutes before realizing in the chat that I wasn't actually live. But so this show was supposed to be last night. I know more has happened since then. And also, I'm supposed to have a stream tomorrow at, let's see, what time is it? With David Skirbina, PhD professor David Skirbina, author of the Jesus Hoax. He's been on before. It's been about a year. And he's also the guy, the tech professor. He's anti-tech. And he mentioned something about the Zionist and their tech agenda. So we'll probably be digging into that. And he's the one that had all the correspondence, the letters with the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. And so I'll be asking him about that. We'll be talking about that and technology and Jesus. So it'll be a change of pace from the Ukraine stuff that everybody else is covering. And we're going to get into today and other miscellaneous news that I'd like to share with you guys. So that'll be tomorrow. And what time? Oh, 12 p.m. is what I have. I'll have to double check that, but I think he wanted to do it early. I remember it scheduled. It wasn't the same time, so noon Pacific, 3 Eastern tomorrow. Professor David Skirbina, don't miss it. So I love this meme. Putin invades, and it's basically annexing parts of Ukraine, claiming. Oh, and I just saw. Did I save it? Did I save that TikTok? I saw a TikTok where Putin his top spy was speaking there in front of him during his speech. I need to post it if I did. And yeah, this is it. You won't see this in Western media. He basically says that they want to annex and the land and have it be Russian. He goes, "Oh no, they're independent, but they're rolling in the tanks now." But basically what it comes down to from everything, because, I'm trying to figure things out. I see there's incredible sentiment that's pro-Russian coming out of a lot of Americans taking the side because they want to own the libs to a degree is kind of the reasoning behind it. It's weird to me that you could be America first and then ever root for the communist Russia to outdo you and to embarrass you on the world stage. The multipolarist, like Ben Norton, are going crazy, saying this is the end of America and Russia and China is going to build up, of course, with Israel. Okay, we're going to have to share this. This is totally impromptu. I'll do it in a second, maybe. We'll get into some of the other news that we have. What else? This is just breaking. I saw Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, the Jewish actor, said Putin did not respond to phone call request today. So Putin apparently has no interest in talking to the president of Ukraine. This is the president of Ukraine, I believe today, saying that he wants a decisive, immediate, and harsh response. I'll play that and I'll get this Putin clip up.
We also value a clear-cut response of Vilnius and Warsaw on Russia's decision to recognize the so-called DPR and LNR and allowing the use of Russian armed forces beyond the borders of the Russian Federation. We are unanimous in assessment of these crimes of the Russian Federation. This is another yet act of aggression against Ukraine, its sovereignty, our territorial integrity.
I'm seeing propaganda that like, oh, Ukraine's not even really a country. And I also heard the interim Ukrainian president in an interview say that when Ukraine gave up their nukes, they disarmed, and Russia apparently agreed to acknowledge their sovereignty and their independence. So they're saying that this is a violation of that.
The military presence of the Russian Federation on the occupied territory of Donbass has been hiding behind separatist uniform, and now we see that this is a unilateral departure from Minsk agreement. And this is an undermining of Ukrainian and international attempts to regulate the situation on the Ukrainian Donbass. The response of the international community to this crime.
If they want to join NATO, they should be allowed to. If we want to expand NATO through there, are we gonna? That's what the whole fight is about, basically. Putin sees it as a threat for them to go into NATO. They'll be surrounded. They won't have their port where they can trade, and then it's so complex because then the European Union is getting a third of their gas from Russia, so they don't want to upset too much. Germany halted the Nord Stream pipeline, which people are speculating would benefit Israel in one of their pipelines.
Should be decisive.
It is hard to figure out exactly what's going on. There seems to be propagandists and bad people on both sides.
And immediately and harsh.
And really just, I mean, are they just engineering World War III according to Armageddon and Gog and Magog? That's what we're going to get into as well today. Okay, here's the video that I was just talking about, blabbering about earlier.
You won't see this in Western media.
That's right. And then the other side, they're saying NATO agreed that they wouldn't expand into Eastern Europe, which apparently they're saying that was that's what else. Putin says it in this. Let's just play it.
Во время визита в Москву уходящего со своей должности президента США Билла Клинтона,
Bill Clinton asked him, what does America think about Russia joining NATO? I won't reveal all the details. The reaction to my question was, let's say, very restrained. It's interesting because Anatoly Golitsyn wrote in New Lies for Old and Perestroika Deception. When did this come out? I want to say 84. I can't remember. But he was the Soviet ex-KGB officer, how communist deception threatens survival of the West. So with the war on terror, the focus for NATO moved from fighting communism in the Soviet Union to terrorism. And this is why Putin was on board with the new war on terror agenda with Bibi and with Bush as well. So apparently he was trying to get into NATO, and maybe NATO didn't want to do that because they didn't want to be infiltrated by communists, which is what Anatoly Golitsyn said would be the plan would be. Fake the fall of communism so you can infiltrate the West and steal their technology and inject your propaganda. And it's I said this in a tweet. Anatoly Golitsyn and Yuri Bezmenov would be rolling in their graves if they saw all of these American patriotic people that are supporting KGB Zionist Putin over our own country, even if it is Zionist, communist, leftist Joe Biden. And you're still supporting the communist bloc over the American bloc. And their prophecy is to use a Gog and Magog war to destroy Edom, which is the West, which they say is America. I mean, it just seems like it's all panning out according to prophecy. Imagine that. We see the rabbis on all sides of this conflict. Chabad rabbis.
фактически видно на их практических шагах в отношении нашей страны. Так и хочется спросить, зачем? Зачем все это? Ради чего? Ну ладно, не хотите видеть в нашем лице друга и союзника, но зачем же делать из нас врага?
Dude, I just realized that that's not even the right clip. So
You
apparently,
won't see this in Western media.
Когда не говорил,
apparently I saved 2 clips then, and I don't have the new one. The other one was his top spy chief, and I'll have to find it. Ukraine to enter state of emergency as Zelensky urges citizens in Russia to leave immediately. Oh, this is not looking good. Funny how it's just wars. Another, just like World War I, World War II, World War III. It's going to be like we got all people that shouldn't be going to war with one another. Let's put it that way. Getting everybody to destroy each other. What is this? Okay, decisive. We got that. Let's see, what else do we have here? We can show this right now. This is the Olympics. I think the opening or the closing ceremony. One world with the little Star of David snowflake there. Right in the center. Underneath the inverted pyramid. Just a coincidence, I'm sure. One world, like the One World Trade Center. The One World Religion, the Zionist, Noahide, Judeo-Christian, prophecy fulfilling, Armageddon, madness. Oh, I got to do that thread still, too. I keep pushing it back. What is this? Oh, okay. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, this is the type of scene, like, so many people on the right are just, like, full on, just, like, worshiping Putin. And I've done videos about Putin agents and alt media. Even I noticed, I've noticed everybody's always accused Richard Spencer of being a Russian agent and a Duganist, and which isn't wrong. He's friends with Dugan and refuses to disavow Dugan. But even he on Twitter, I saw yesterday, was calling out Russian agents and Russian shills and not saying stuff like Candace Owens here, liked by Don Jr. She says, I suggest every American who wants to know what's actually going on in Russia and Ukraine, read this transcript of Putin's address. As I've said for a month, NATO, under direct direction from the United States, is violating previous agreements and expanding eastward. We are at fault. So we're bad if NATO wants to expand in Ukraine, but he's not bad if he wants to take Ukraine to stop NATO from expanding. I need to see more about this disputed agreement. I saw something about this agreement that NATO wouldn't expand. I mean, they've been expanding for decades. So when was that made? Who was it to? Was this just a spoken oral promise that Putin is claiming he had or something? I've seen stuff like that. Putin recognizes separatist claims to Ukraine's entire Donbass region. That'd be like America just declaring provinces in Canada as independent. Putin can unilaterally declare other nations on his border independent, and it's such a false pretense just for him to roll in the tanks and say he's defending their independence and their freedom. And then people would argue, oh, well, there's separatists and there's people that want to move, that want it to be part of Russia. Don't think for a second that the KGB doesn't have their agents there trying to create the separatist movements. And I even believe that the Jays are funding the Azov group, the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. They use them to demonize legitimate Ukrainian nationalism. That's their go-to trick. To dismiss. You don't think Putin would do that? Of course he would. Likelihood of war escalates. Oh, the worst thing I saw today. I know I have it saved. CNBC or Biden was saying, the chutzpah of these people. He said that, here it is. Just read it word for word. CBS News. The U.S. economy has been hit with increased gas prices, inflation, and supply chain issues due to Ukraine crisis. Yeah, the Ukraine crisis that really only set off recently. That all the inflation in prices and supply chain, it's because of COVID, and it's manufactured because of COVID, and they're going to blame it, scapegoat it on Ukraine when it just started. Putin doesn't want Ukraine, says the chat. He obviously does. They obviously want it bad. They think that's still Mother Russia. Look at what Dugin says. Dugin says that Ukraine doesn't even exist and they should take it. But the level, and they got eaten up in the comments here. CBS. 12.8 thousand quote tweets. The level of gaslighting and deflection are off the charts. Fact check, completely false. Do you feel any shame? All the stuff we've been dealing with the last 2 years is because of the crisis that started in the last 2 days. Imagine writing this headline. Imagine being the kind of person who believes headlines like this. They're just paid propagandists and corporate liars that work for the big banks and BlackRock and the lobbies.
Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors? This is a flagrant violation of international law and demands a firm response from the international community.
I almost wonder how much these people really care. It's almost like it's just being engineered from both sides to spark a conflict. Trump praises Putin's genius as GOP fissures, grow on Ukraine crisis. Trump says, this is genius. Putin declares a big portion of Ukraine. Putin declares it as independent. Oh, that's wonderful. Quote. And I heard people trying to say, oh, it's not the full context because Trump was saying that Putin's genius because he waited until Trump was out of office to do it when Biden was in. He described Putin as a guy who's very savvy and whom he knows very, very well. Others are saying don't care. J.D. Vance says, I don't care. It's like Israel just annexing the West Bank and the Golan Heights and it's just basically stealing land. Sanctions by Boris Johnson.
Today, the UK is sanctioning the following 5 Russian banks. Rossiya, IS Bank, General Bank, Promzyaz Bank, and the Black Sea Bank. And we are sanctioning 3 very high net worth individuals, Gennady Timchenko, Boris Rottenberg, and...
Rottenberg? Rottenberg is Putin's childhood friend who does judo with him, who's a oligarch and a billionaire. Rottenberg.
Any assets they hold in the UK will be frozen. The individuals concerned will be banned from travelling here. And we will prohibit all UK individuals and entities from having any dealings with them. This is the first...
How come nobody did this to Israel when they annexed all the land? I would have liked to see that. That's what should have happened. Instead of all of our Christian Zionist leadership in America just wholeheartedly endorsed it and supported it and basically were the driving force behind it.
Tranche. The first barrage of what we are prepared to do. And we hold further sanctions at readiness to be deployed alongside the United States and the European Union if the situation escalates still further. The House should be in no doubt that the deployment of these forces in sovereign Ukrainian territory amounts to a renewed invasion of that country. And by denying Ukraine's legitimacy as a state and presenting its very existence as a mortal threat to Russia, Putin is establishing the pretext for a full-scale offensive. if the worst happens, then a European nation of 44 million men, women, and children would become the target of a full-scale war of aggression, waged without a shred of justification for the absurd and even mystical reasons that Putin described last night.
Mystical?
What an appalling result for President Putin, Mr. Speaker. I hope that he steps back from the brink and does not conduct a full invasion. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we must implement the tough package that we put forward, and we will continue to offer the Ukrainian people all the support that we can.
Step back from the brink. And yes, he's a Zionist too. Putin's a Zionist. He's a Zionist. Biden's a Zionist. The communist Zionist dialectic, marching us towards another war according to their prophecies. What does Lindsey Graham and other Zionists say? You're playing footsie with Putin and you're losing, Mr. President, he says to Biden.
So to President Biden, you said a couple of years ago that Putin does not want you to win because you're the only person that could go toe-to-toe with him. Well, right now, Mr. President, you're playing footsie with Putin and you're losing. Here's walking all over you and our allies. We have too many Neville Chamberlains in this world. We need more Churchills. So to President Biden.
Churchill, who wrote the famous article, the Bolshevism versus Zionism. The same dialectic. And it was support the Zionists because the Bolsheviks are a greater threat, basically. And the Putin shills, like, I mean, seriously, just like there's Zionist agents all over alt media, independent media, there is Russian agents and Russian shills all over alt media too. The KGB and their disinformation and their propaganda, that's like where they focus most of their efforts towards. And so just keep that in mind. Bots as well, you know, you're trained to think, because Rachel Maddow said it, Russian bots aren't real. Russian bots are just as real as Unit 8200 Hasbara bots of Israel. They got them too. And like I said earlier, Anatoly Golitsyn and Yuri Bezmenov would be rolling in their graves if they saw all of these America first, patriot types, Christians, all demoralized, hating America, wanting America to lose and get conquered by China and Russia and embarrassed, and for them to, basically for Edom to fall and for Russia and China and Israel's Belt and Road Initiative to rise up and be the New World Order. Klaus Schwab has his bust of Lenin behind him in the video. Okay, now I did this yesterday, and the intro was 2/22. It was Tuesday, 2/22/2022, and then Biden, of course, walks out to give his speech addressing the Russia situation at 2:22 Eastern time, which is where he's at. I mean, talk about gematria red flag check. Just amazing. So I looked up, and I'm not sure if this is official. I just went to Google. I said gematria of 2/22, and this is the first thing that came up. Hitler, the head of Gog and Magog, the Amalekite, like Putin. Like how all the leftist media says, oh, Putin's behind Trump and the white supremacist, and then meanwhile ignoring the fact that he's also a Zionist and completely goes along with their agenda as well, where he's supposed to. So I've been saying this, Putin is meant to be like the Christian leader of freedom, the savior of the West, which they want to have as the bad guy in Gog and Magog, almost the Armulus or Hitler character. So in Jewish, 2/22 is Hitler apparently, and Armageddon. So I don't know if that's why we're seeing 2/22s everywhere, or what. I'll have to wait for the Chabad article breaking it down, what it means in the Hebrew. And this is interesting as well. The date written out like the day, 22nd, month, 02, 2022, is the same forwards and backwards. Illuminati confirmed, says Liam T. Jared. Is he in the chat? Illuminati confirmed. Oh, and we got 66 when you add them all together. Let's see, we skipped a few. Does he have anything else in this thread? No. That's the guy that we're going to do the review of the thread. Donnie Darko, the guy that thinks Trump is the chosen Antichrist. He does whole long threads on it. I wanted to break one of them down and share my thoughts. That'll be an upcoming video still. Ukrainian New Yorkers brace for war. Compare Putin to Hitler. Putin, who gets Zionist awards and praise for the rebuilding of the temple and is extremely close with Chabad Lubavitch and was brought into power by Roman Abramovich, a top Chabad donor, and Lev Leviev, another Chabad donor, who is buddies with Benjamin Netanyahu, who marched with Putin in their Red Parade. Germany freezes Nord Stream 2 gas project. Oh, Putin's puppet was trending last night because Putin, because of his comments on Putin. 1968 Republican, better dead than red. 2022 Republican, I'd rather be a Russian than a Democrat. This is pretty accurate. This is what's happened. I mean, why not try to reform America than to root against it and root for communist China and communist Russia? It's just completely backwards. It's just like all the QAnon people. It's like the QAnon dialectic. You see all the Q people. You see Alex Jones. You see these shills like Jason Burmis and Luke Radowski. They say, oh, the Nazis are secretly in charge and they didn't lose the war and they're running everything and they're behind the Great Reset and the UN and everything. And it's Putin and Trump are the alliance and they're going to save us with the white hats and QAnon and the Christians and the the good Torah believing rabbis like Alex Jones's buddy Zelenko. I need to do a compilation of Alex Jones. I've got a few clips in mind where he's just spewing his Christian Zionist prophecies being fulfilled, the Old Testament is real type of nonsense. Huh. That's a good one. Trump is the Trojan horse bringing in the Russian flag. Of course, if anybody were to do this about Trump and Israel, you might as well do an Israeli flag there. Ultimately, that would be the end of the world. In fact, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take it and put an Israeli flag there. Bookmark. All this talk about Trump being a Russian asset, which he very likely could be compromised in colluding with them. But if you were to say he was an Israeli asset, it's the end of the world. Even though he says that basically they run Congress and that's a good thing and that if he gets into power, they'll run it again. All right. Israel weighing condemnation as Russia escalates against Ukraine. And that reminds me, and I found the other clip I was looking forward to. Israel, there's a new article about Israel saying that they're not going to condemn. Oh, this is so weird too. Look at this. I forgot the 222. You can't make this up. So I think this is the $20 bill. I'm not sure. You zoom in on the clock tower. People are saying that's 1, 2, 15, 20, 22. Is that real? What do you think about that? 222 on the clock? Illuminati confirmed? Biden at 2:22 p.m. Eastern time? On 2:22? You got to be kidding me. It's like they want there to be Illuminati conspiracies at this point, right? Amazing. Of course. Okay, I'm looking for the article where it says Israel doesn't want to condemn and that they're going to stay neutral. Biden refused to take questions at the end, which isn't surprising. I didn't see Putin taking questions. But here's what I was talking about. Putin puts foreign intelligence chief on the spot. Oh, shoot. Come on, CNN. Your player sucks. Oh, yeah. I got to see the Greg Reese 222 video. I wonder what he'll come up with. All right. Let's see. What is the deal here? God, CNN can't even get a video player to work. That's how pathetic they are. It's going to give me an ad, too.
Согласился бы с предложением Николая Платоновича о том, что
I would agree that our Western partners can be given one last chance
партнерам можно дать
to offer them to force Kyiv to make peace
шанс,
and fulfill the Minsk agreements as soon as possible.
предложить им в кратчайшие сроки заставить Киев.
Otherwise, we must make the decision we are talking about today.
В противном случае мы должны принять то решение, о котором сегодня говорится.
What do you mean otherwise? Do you propose to start the negotiation process?
No,
Or recognize the sovereignty of the republics?
Я
Say it plainly.
поддержу предложение.
I'll support the proposal on recognition.
You will support or you...
First of all, politicians in Russia fear the Kremlin, fear the KGB, FSB, Putin. This is why he has so much power. You go against Putin and you can disappear. You can get poisoned. You can be locked up.
You support. Speak directly, Sergei Evgenyevich.
I support the proposal to...
Just say it, yes or no.
So I am saying I support the proposal to admit the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics into the Russian Federation.
See, admit them into the Russian Confederation. He said, no, that's not what you're supposed to say. That's what they're doing, but that's not what you're supposed to say. Watch that again.
Support the proposal to...
Will support or you support. Speak directly, Sergei Evgenyevich.
I support the proposal to...
Just say it, yes or no.
So I am saying I support the proposal to admit the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republics into the Russian Federation.
We're not talking about it. We're not discussing it.
That's like Ehud Barak on BBC that goes, Bin Laden was behind it. Oh, no, we don't say that. We don't accuse him. That's that moment right there. He's so bullied and scared that he just spewed what their actual plan is. And what's obvious to anybody that's not in denial, that they're taking the land. It's a good old-fashioned land grab. And they did it first by probably sending in their KGB assets to provoke separatist movements. You know that's how it is. And sure, America has their people over there with NATO trying to get them to join NATO as well.
We're talking about recognizing their independence or not.
Yes, I support the proposal to recognize independence.
Only independence.
Good. Please take a seat. Thank you.
Good. No more speaking from you, he says. Okay, so Israel weighing condemnation as Russia escalates against Ukraine. So they haven't, our greatest ally that shares all our values won't come out and condemn what's going on. This article says Israel notifies the Russian army, the major military force in Syria, before it strikes Iranian targets over the northern border. So we know even Baral Lazar says that they're communicating with Russian intelligence, and Israeli intelligence are in communication. So are their armies. And organized through Chabad, there's a lot of backroom secret deals going on between Putin and Netanyahu, and organized with their meetings organized by Chabad. Of course, we'll play that clip in a little bit. And this is unsurprising that Israel isn't condemning, because back in 2018, Israel said to Russia that they sat out of Western sanctions. Everybody sanctioned Russia when they annexed Crimea. They did the same thing, is what they're doing here, basically. And Israel sat out of that, too. They refused to go along with the West and America to sanction them because they are allies with them and China. And Israel was set up by Bolsheviks, and they're all basically secret communists and Zionists. And America Firsters, just because they're America Firsters are so mad that their Zionist God King Trump isn't in power, that they're rooting for the Chi-Coms and the Ruskies. Because they're so mad that their Zionist Trump isn't in power, so we can't have America First anymore without Trump. That's how terrible things are. So they sat out. We value these relations with Russia. They sell our military secrets to Russia and China. And yet they go, we're your best friend. We're your greatest ally. Also, Israel torpedoed the sale of Iron Dome to Ukraine, fearing Russian reaction. Report. Israel vetoed the idea to send the Iron Dome to Ukraine. So I guess what side they're going to join up if there's a big war. They instigate America into a war against Russia, China, and Iran. They're going to end up, America will be destroyed by all these nukes that Russia and China have. Edom will fall, the Armageddon will happen, and Israel will rise up after betraying us for China and Russia. That's what I see happening. Israel halted attempt by U.S. to transfer several batteries of the Iron Dome. We funded the Iron Dome. We helped design the Iron Dome, and then they wouldn't give us the secret codes to the Iron Dome. Iron Dome codes sale. This was just back in 2020. Gosh, we get bitched around by these people so much. It's so pathetic. U.S. Army scraps $1 billion Iron Dome project after Israel refuses to provide key codes. Wow, greatest ally ever. Due to cyber vulnerabilities. Oh yeah, they're the greatest cyber threat. Oops. Anatoly Golitsyn and Yuri Bezmenov rolling in their graves. Here's the full Simpsons clip. Simpsons predicted crisis of Putin in Russia and Ukraine. Look at this.
The Soviet Union will be pleased to offer amnesty to your wayward vassal.
The Soviet Union? I thought you guys broke up.
Yes, that's what we wanted you to think.
Perestroika deception.
Must crush capitalism.
The Soviet Union will be pleased to offer amnesty to your wayward vassal.
Very well done.
I thought you guys broke up.
Hilarious. Let's see. Oh, there we already had it right there. Okay, now here's a little clip of Putin, Israel, and Judaism. Here's the Chabad rabbi talking about Putin and how good he is to the Jews.
The difference between Poland and Russia is a vibrant, dynamic Jewish community. I was in Moscow on Simchas Torah night. There were 1,000 people there. There were 13 oligarchs in the room. Their net worth was $30-some-odd billion. Now, what shul in America has people worth $30 billion in the shul for dancing? At 3:30, at 4, so we were dancing till 11 o'clock, and then we had a break, and then we had the dancing again. At 3 o'clock in the morning, we went on the street, and at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking home with Rabbi Lazar. You'd think he'd be impressed that he had these oligarchs worth $30 billion. He said to me, I had success tonight. I said, what was your success?
Oh, by the way, Beryl Lazar, the Chabad chief rabbi of Russia, who is brags of being close personal friends with the Rothschilds.
That he had these oligarchs worth $30 billion. He said to me, I had success tonight. I said, what was your success? He says, 3 guys decided to get a bris, and 3 guys or 4 guys decided to put on tefillin. But we're talking here
That's 3 guys decided to get a bris, that's a circumcision, and then to put on the tefillin, the leather band that they do around their arm and the box they put on their head.
Different kind of world. You know, there was a row of Mercedes in front of the shul, each guy with a driver and bodyguards, and these guys are dancing inside like everybody else. They run the economy of Russia. The difference is we're the Jewish establishment in Russia. There's no Jewish Federation. We are the Jewish Federation.
Chabad.
There's no ADL. We are the ADL. There's no AJC. We are the AJC. Judaism in Russia is run 98% by Chabad.
Judaism in Russia is run 98% by Chabad. They are the ADL, ran by Jewish billionaires, Chabad billionaires.
It's a different ballgame. One of the other elements for the success of Judaism in Russia, even though he's not so popular right now in the
Mind you, there's people all over the internet right now that pretend like they know about Zionism that are praising Putin and just glorifying Putin like he's not a Zionist. I've done videos in the past about Putin being a Zionist. In fact, there needs to be some debates about Putin and Russia and Ukraine and this whole thing.
Has been the friendship to the Jewish world of the president of Russia, which is Vladimir Putin. And you have to ask yourselves, why is this so? I heard a great line from a professor of mathematics, Novosibirsk. He told me like this: Putin may not be good for Russia, but he's definitely good for the Jews of Russia. Putin may not be good for Russia, but he's definitely good for the Jews of Russia.
Imagine that a Jewish person that said that's a great line. They think it's great that he's good for the Jews, but not good for the basically white Russian people.
He told me like this: Putin may not be good for Russia, but he's definitely good for the Jews of Russia. Putin may not be good for Russia, but he's definitely good for the Jews of Russia. Why is he good for the Jews of Russia? Because when Putin was a young child, he lived in an apartment building in St. Petersburg. And he would come home every day from school and his parents were out working, and in the same entrance, in the same apartment or the adjacent apartment, there lived a religious Hasidic family. And when he would come home and there was nobody to take care of him, they would do his homework together with him. And he spent his youth growing up basically in the house of an Orthodox Jew. He feels a tremendous sense of hakaras hatov, of recognition for good to the Jews, and what he got, all his childhood friends were
so much good.
And I also think he sees the positive effect that they have in building Russia as a new country, the fact what the rabbis...
We're going to have Chabad building Russia as a new country.
They have in building Russia as a new country, the fact what the rabbis do in Russia and the shluchim are doing in Russia.
The shluchim. There's part one, here's part two.
Mentality. Russia is a different mentality. And this is part of the conflict right now between Russia and the United States. You can't push the Russians have to be dealt with through quiet. A very shrewd observer in Moscow told me, you can't deal with Russia like the United States. Here it's public pressure, it's tumult, it's polls. In Russia, everything is quiet deals. For instance, there is a lot of quiet deals between Russia and Israel that you know nothing about. And the early meetings between Putin and Sharon and Putin and Bibi were orchestrated by Chabad. They were arranged. But a lot of the deals, Russia is a different political mentality. There's a lot of quiet deals between Russia and Israel that you know nothing about. There's a lot of quiet deals between Russia and Israel that you know nothing about. Russia is a different mentality. And this is part of the conflict.
Putin initiates law against anti-Semitism. Jerusalem to host largest ever event on anti-Semitism. Putin attends. Putin also donated his salary to a Holocaust museum as well. Putin is good to the Jews, says the rabbi. Trump helped block anti-Israel resolution pushed by Obama. There's people that are online, lots of people, pushing the line that the Zionists don't like Putin. That Putin is anti-Zionist. I can't see how people could come away with that.
I can mention here. A few things that I can mention here.
So this was on a thread where I said Alex Jones says Putin. I scrolled through an Alex Jones video covering the Ukraine situation, and unsurprisingly, it was all 100% pro-Putin, the taking the RT Russian propaganda talking points. Putin is an anti-New World Order InfoWars listener. That's what Alex Jones tells you. Alex Jones in a show a while back said Trump, Netanyahu, and Putin are real men and they can't be bought. If that doesn't tell you, he sounds like Mel K. Mel K is saying the same thing, just like Alex Jones promoted QAnon as well. This is the Zionist propagandist line. Putin is just as kosher as Trump. I agree. Just because he doesn't show it in the same way doesn't mean it's not similar levels of control. Harrison Smith of InfoWars says, explain Putin's actions in Syria.
A few things that I can mention here. Number one, there's practically a daily briefing coming from Russia to Israel, Israel to Russia, about what's going on in Syria. The defense minister in Russia has been in touch with Israel on many, many different issues. And Putin does believe, and he said this many different times at different events, even in the community, that Syria with Assad right now is better for Israel than Syria without Assad. A few things that I can mention.
Hear that? Syria with Assad is better than Syria without... What's this one?
So I think that, let me tell you, number one, Putin loves Israel. And I heard this from him before he got to know Netanyahu. He came here, he was invited to Israel when he was deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, at that time Leningrad. He visited the country. He came back home and he told his wife, we are taking a trip to Israel. I want our kids to see how people were able to turn the desert into a land of milk and honey. And he said he took his family and traveled Israel from north to south.
That's the Jewish prophecy, that they will return to the land that will be barren and desolate, and God will punish them and bring them back to the land, and then they will make it flow with milk and honey, and they will build up and be a light unto the nations, and all the wealth of the nations will flow unto Israel, and they will be above all the nations.
Matula till Beersheba, till Eilat, he really went and saw everything. And he was really impressed for what he saw. And he said, it's something that we can learn from. That's number one. Number two, you have over 1 million Russian-speaking Jews living in Israel. That's a very strong connection with Russia. He feels that this is a strong bridge that can help. Number three, I think Israel has been a good friend to Russia. If you look today, what's going on in the world, sanctions and all of that, Israel has shown that,
they don't care if America sanctions Russia. They're going to stay neutral. But they're our greatest ally. But they also didn't even join the war on terror. They pushed for war on terror. They pushed for it, and then they didn't join the coalition.
Their friendship is strong, and I think that was an important message. So I think adding up all these points, plus I think he likes strong leaders. I think Bibi's one of them. But he has liked Sharon, and he loved Peres. I remember many...
Ariel Sharon, the butcher, and what's his name? Perez.
Different events when we were sitting together.
Shimon Peres.
And he really, I think he has shown to many countries that if you are friendly with Russia, Russia will be friendly with you. And Israel was able to show that. Putin loves Israel. Putin loves Israel.
Thank you for these posts, by the way, Dorison. And I said, this clip, Harrison. So here's the response. I saw the super chat there. I'll read it in the chat. He said, explain Putin's actions in Syria. What did I say? Somebody posts Alex Jones's visa to Russia. Where's my post? Thought I had it here. It must have been a different thread. I posted in what Liam T. Jarrett says. Thanks, Liam. China and Israel evolving relationship within the Belt and Road Initiative. Yes, as we've been talking about for years now, the technology agenda with Russia, the Belt and Road, the new Silk Road with Israel at the center that stands to benefit more than since the times of King Solomon, because they're right there center in the landmass, in the center of tech, and they wield influence with America, Russia, China. Netanyahu brags about it. It's not even a secret. It's all out in the open. Jones will tell you it's the Chi-Coms, but won't tell you how Israel, it's also Israel behind it. Now for the prophecy. Let me see this real quick. Where is it? Oh, shoot. It must be in C. I opened up the wrong Adobe Premiere Pro file. I need to find, maybe it's B. I've got so many clips and so many screenshots and so many sequences and projects, Adobe Premiere Pro. Russia. Shoot. I'm going to have to edit this out, but I got to find the right part. We're going to talk about Vilna Gaon. Let's see. War, you believe it. War between Russia and Ukraine would lead to the coming of the Messiah, says 300-year-old Jewish prophecy by the Gaon of Vilna. There, found it. Who is written about in these books that I'm reading: Josephic Messiah, the Leviathan, Metatron, and the Sacred Serpent, which is Jesus is one half of that dialectic, and his other book as well. I don't see it right now. But anyway, Gaon of Vilna, this is his prophecy. This guy was one of the most influential Kabbalists in modern history. He's one of the leaders of the return back to Israel. Okay, and what am I looking for here? Okay, that's just for later. We'll play that later. The coming of the Messiah, the genius of Vilna, who said that they would use technology and Kabbalah to usher in the end times. And Gog and Magog, too. He wrote about Gog and Magog. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. He said Esau and Ishmael will destroy each other in Gog and Magog. He also doesn't reveal it, but you can see the doctrines, his secret doctrines, basically that Jesus is a Moshiach ben Joseph archetype. Ingathering, he's for the ingathering of the exiles, the rebuilding of Jerusalem, and this is in the 1700s. It's by establishing inner circles, and he literally calls it a conspiracy. The secret doctrine of Kabbalah, he says it is a conspiracy, a Zionist conspiracy, but then, the ADL will say it's a conspiracy theory. Waging war against Amalek is another aspect that he writes about. Oh, here it is. To get the exact words, page 126, Kol HaTorah by Gaon of Vilna. Achieved through military victories of Israel during the final battles of Gog and Magog. The redemption from the subjugation to foreign powers. That's what we see happening right here. This is the prophecy. They literally want it to happen. What a coincidence that this 222 situation, the whole Trump and QAnon and all the Christian Zionists going crazy. And again, this isn't God's plan playing out. This is religious fanatics making things happening and engineering them behind the scenes. The reasonable, rational, natural explanation. Here's a clip of a rabbi explaining it.
The Vilna Gaon from 300 years ago has a tradition that actually Gog and Magog could well be Russian. That there's going to be a war which will involve the Russians at the end of days.
Oh, isn't it just wonderful what we have to look forward to? Also, the rabbis believe this, and their co-religionist brethren, the pastors, the Christian pastors, also say the same things. Like this guy at the Tipping Point, this guy on YouTube that talks about the rapture every day and about how we need to worship Israel more, and has huge following and huge views and makes tons of money. Look at this studio by this lunatic promoting this Christian Zionist stuff.
Today I'm talking about a big, big issue, and that is, when will the rapture of the church occur? A lot of people are interested in that. I'm talking about the Gog and Magog war, and in the news, Turkey is aligning themselves away from NATO and away from the EU and to Russia and China, just the way the Bible said that they would. And so when you look
just the way the Bible said,
at the middle of Gog and Magog, and for example, Russia right now is not a Christian nation. They persecute Christianity in Russia. And so the spirit.
See how he's got it so different? The narrative you hear everywhere on the internet, where I see, is that Christian's a nationalist, Putin's a Christian leader, and Russia's a Christian country. And then you see the Christian Zionists seeing the exact opposite.
Spirit of Gog and Magog, this arrogance, this rebellion against God, that's going to be the same spirit. And their purpose, the Gog-Magog war of Ezekiel 38, it says that they come to take spoil. Okay, well, Iran is going to come to get spirit. Now, Israel has been buying.
Okay.
The Vilna Gaon from 400 years ago has a tradition that actually Gog and Magog could well be Russian. That there's going to be a war which will involve the Russians at the end of days. And the Russians are going to gang up together
rabbis.
with Paras, Cush, and Put. Paras, says the prophet Ezekiel, he refers to Paras, Cush, and Put, could. But one thing we do know is that they do turn up, they're going to attack us. Why are they attacking us? One opinion is because they're jealous of the Jewish people,
of course,
and they see the great success that we're having in Israel and around the world, and that jealousy is going to make them want to attack us and come to fight against us.
Because it's Esau and Amalek energy, they believe, or reincarnation, spirit.
The Maral of Prague says, no, it's plain and simple.
More than 2,500 years ago, the Hebrew prophet Ezekiel described a future war in the Middle East that Bible scholars have called the War of Gog and Magog. And the
Jesus
word of
is
the Lord
coming.
came to me saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. I will turn you about and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you out, and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them splendidly attired, a great company with buckler and shield, all of them wielding swords, Persia, Cush, and Put with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer with all its troops, Beth Togarmah from the remote parts of the north with all its troops, many peoples with you. And you will come up against my people Israel like a cloud to cover the land. It shall come about in the last days that I will bring you against my land. One of the prophets that most intrigues me.
Joel Rosenberg here with, this is the CNP documentary called, it's about, it's called Dome of the Rock and the Temple Mount, Jerusalem Epicenter.
In the Bible is Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, what Bible scholars call the War of Gog and Magog. Gog, we find out, is not a personal name. It's a title, like a pharaoh or a czar. Now, he is the leader over a territory called Magog. The Magogites, the people of Magog, are the people whom the Greeks called Scythians. These are the people group who settled north of the Black and Caspian Seas in what we now call Russia and the former Soviet republics. So what we're talking about with Gog is a Russian dictator, someone who's going to oversee Russia.
Okay, this documentary came out, I believe, in 1990 or maybe 2000. I can't remember exactly. But late 1990s. I could look it up in a second. Made by CNP. You're going to see here Tim LaHaye, the author of Left Behind, about the rapture, the Christian Zionists. The CNP that has all types of influence in politics with Republicans and with Trump. This is what they all believe, that Putin is the leader of Gog and Magog. And then you see the Ukraine prophecy with Gaon of Vilna. We see all the rabbis everywhere talking about America as Edom. We see the Duginists there with Putin, with multipolar world. We see the World Economic Forum says America won't be the lone superpower anymore. Russia and China are going to rise up. Like we see many people in alt media actually cheerleading along, wanting to see Russia and China and de facto Israel destroy America.
As they begin to form an alliance with Iran and a group of other Middle Eastern countries to attack Israel, to try to destroy or annihilate Israel in the last days. When you look at events in the Middle East through a third lens of Bible prophecy, sometimes dots begin to connect and you can begin to anticipate what's coming.
I think it's interesting that after Rosh is referred to, which can be almost indisputably proven to be Russia, then you have the Persia. Well, in 1930 is when they changed the name to Iran. It had been Persia up until that time, so we're still talking about the same place.
In the 2,500 years since Ezekiel wrote the prophecy, Russia and Iran have never had a military alliance of anything like what's developing now.
They have been close allies for some time. They have funded their weaponry. They have backed some of their policies. They have built reactors for them or are in the process of building reactors for them, nuclear reactors. So there is an alliance that certainly could trigger a movement.
I really believe that we are on the very verge of Ezekiel 38 being fulfilled and 39. I think that the alignment of the nations right now, Russia's support of Iran and of the other Muslim nations that are listed as the aggressors against Israel in chapter 38, it surely is all, the stage is set and the nations are in place.
Geez, the stage is set and they're about to produce the film. They got their script, they got their blueprint of Ezekiel and the Torah and all their other scripts. And mind you, this was from Jerusalem, Dome of the Rock. That's the name of the documentary. 1999, before 9/11, when this documentary came out.
The countries are aligning. Russia is one of the best friends of the Arab world right now. They used to be enemies, but now they're making friends because they've got a common interest. They want world domination. I guess the Russians have made them think they can trust them, and the Arabs think that they can have convinced the Russians that they can trust them, but I wouldn't trust either one of them. But it's going to be interesting to see how these two get together and go down against Israel. And then the world abandons Israel, and only God can save them.
Oh my gosh. This guy wrote the Left Behind, the Rapture movies. Have you guys seen that movie? It is so wacky. So wacky. People just disappearing in their clothes. They depict the rapture happening. And then the Antichrist is a guy at the UN who's a European, a young European guy is the Antichrist who wants to use the UN to have peace, or so-called peace around the world, and he's really working for the billionaires, but then he backstabs them. And the CNP has so much power in politics, it's outrageous that these nuts wield the influence they have. Pagan Bear says, the Abrahamic sickness must be destroyed. All books or propaganda must be burned. If we don't stop it, they will destroy us all. I don't think burning them is the answer. I think doing what I'm doing, pointing out how fictitious and ridiculous and the brainwashing and the spell that they're under is the better way to get rid of it. They burned the Talmud in France and I'm sure in other places. And how did that work out? Didn't work. Burning them isn't the answer. Getting the Gentile world to not be Christians and Islam would be a start to take away the origins of the Abrahamic myth.
There is a tension this world is feeling, an exasperation. We have tried everything possible, especially in the last generation, to see peace occur in the Middle East, to solve this Israeli-Palestinian issue. And we have not gotten any further down the road in terms of peace. In fact, I would say we've lost ground. And there comes a point when nations, when governments, when organizations who have tried and spent money and lives have been lost in the process finally give up. And they look for an expedient solution, not always the best solution. They're willing to try or do anything. And some nations, unfortunately, in the mix, are talking about a nuclear solution.
While they may or may not believe in the biblical war of Gog and Magog, Even leading Middle East experts recognize the danger of the alliance that is now forming between Russia and Iran, an alliance that is forming for the first time in the 2,500 years since Ezekiel wrote his prophecy.
When you look at the whole development of the Iranian missile program.
So there's Dory Gold, the U.S. ambassador, the UN ambassador, the ultra-Zionist Dory Gold. And I saw another super chat here. Where is it? Instinct says, all the wrong people are cheering on Russia. InfoWars, America First, QAnon. I know that's the point I'm getting at. And then on the other side, you got these Zionists who are like, Putin's the Antichrist and Gog and Magog. And then you see, people on all sides that are pushing towards this. Dory Gold is basically, it's like, why is Putin saving Syria and Iran if he's not anti-Zionist? Maybe because that's what they need him to do, the role they need him to play to carry out this scripted end times agenda. That's the way I see it.
Of the Iranian missile program, their procurement of cruise missiles from the Ukraine, it is clear that Iran is looking far beyond Israel and far beyond Tel Aviv. Their aim is the West as a whole.
They want to concentrate on completing their nuclear program because once they have that, then they could threaten the West in ways that are unimaginable today. They could take over the Persian Gulf on all its sides and take control of the oil reserves of the world, most of them. They could topple Saudi Arabia and Jordan in short order. And of course, Iraq. All your internal debates in America on Iraq would be irrelevant because a nuclear-armed Iran would subordinate Iraq in 2 seconds.
The Russian interest, to my mind, is first of all to become back a player in the superpower games, to become superpower. And as long as they don't have positive assets to play with, they use negative assets to challenge the United States.
I was sent, in fact, by Israeli government, by Benjamin Netanyahu, to warn
Israeli government sent Netanyahu to warn the Russians.
That technology already in January 97.
Their leaked technology.
In fact, I was the first minister who started this, and then I happened to be, I think, the first former prisoner of conscience in the Soviet Union ever who came back to visit his own prison, and then to meet the head of new KGB, Putin, and later the president, in negotiating insisting on the necessity of cooperation.
It poses...
See that Netanyahu's been collaborating with Putin back when he was the head of the KGB. Come on, what's going on here?
A threat, in my judgment, in many ways bigger than Nazism, because Hitler embarked on a world conflict and then sought to achieve nuclear weapons, whereas the leading radical Islamic regime, Iran, is seeking to first acquire nuclear weapons and then embark on a world conflict. And that is what is not yet understood in the West, and certainly if it's understood, it's not acted upon.
אחרי זה דור אחרי זה, עשיו ויעקב. אז ישמעאל הוא אבי הערבי.
Oh, watch. He says Putin is Edom.
ועשיו זה הנוצרים. אדום. שני אלה ראשי אומות העולם. זה הראשים. משם זה התחיל. לכן דרך אגב כתוב ואני לא נביא, אני כתוב בזוהר, לפני הגאולה
before salvation,
התעוררו מלחמות בעולם בין אדום לישמעאל. לא כתוב את זה. אתם רואים מה קורה היום בעולם? נוצרים, היום יש את פוטין טראמפ, שזה נוצרים, אדום, נגד 7 מדינות אסלאמיות, חכו זה רק התחלה.
You see, he's got it twisted. He believes it's going to be Putin and Trump versus the Muslim nations. When we heard everybody else saying that they think it's going to be Putin and the Muslim nations against the West.
התעוררו מלחמות קשות מאוד, לא בין מדינה למדינה, אלא בין אדום לישמעאל. זה מה ש... ברוך השם במצב מתקדם של התהליכים האלה.
Thank God that we're the two spin-off religions of Christianity and Islam are going to destroy each other. Look at, he's got his Moshiach crown right there. Thank God that there's going to be nuclear war and all the Gentiles are going to kill each other. Isn't it glorious?
זה מה שאנחנו ברוך השם במצב מתקדם של התהליכים האלה.
He says, they're instigating it.
רגע, אנחנו במרכז. תכף תבינו, אנחנו מאוד במרכז, כי כתוב, החפץ חיים אמר, שהם ילחמו זה בזה במלחמה שלא נראתה עוד בעולם כל כך הרבה דם. ואז הם יעצרו באמצע, יגידו, רגע, הכל בגלל היהודים. רגע.
They'll all be anti-Semitic, and they'll all turn against the Jews.
בבקשה. הוא אמר שהם יעצרו באמצע, יגידו, רגע, הכל בגלל היהודים. בואו, תמיד הכל בגלל היהודים. נשפך כוס חלב בבייג'ינג בסין, איזה יהודי גרם לזה בטוח. אז גם זה בגלל היהודים, אז הם ירצו לבוא עלינו. אבל השנאה תהיה כל כך גדולה שהם לא יצליחו. שהם לא יצליחו לבוא עלינו. ואז הם ימשיכו להילחם, ובסוף כן יבואו 70 אומות ביחד. גוג ומגוג, בגימטריה 70, כולם יבואו לפה.
Gog and Magog, value 70.
וגם לא לפחד. זה הכל כתוב בתנת ואליהו, תראו שהכל מתנקז לכיוון הזה.
This guy, this is an Israeli sniper or airplane pilot speaking at a Christian church. He says Messiah is coming. I love how he says Messiah like they're talking about the same guy. He says Russia, what's going on with Russia is Gog and Magog as well. So does this rabbi, they all say the same things.
And this is written over 2,000 years ago. And in the future...
Oh, by the way, I'm watching a video of this guy. I should have finished it before I streamed, but I didn't get to it. He's got a new, Rabbi Nava has a new video out. Is Putin Gog and Magog?
The sons of Ishmael are future to arouse huge wars all over the world. Now what's going to happen? They're going to go against the entire world, the sons of Edom. And they're going to go and gather war against the rest of the world. The sons of Edom, these are the Christians. So all the Muslims, this is a prophecy from over 2,000 years ago. The Muslims are going to go and they're going to infect the rest of the world everywhere they're going to go. They're going to cause havoc, they're going to cause riots, they're going to cause wars, and they're going to go against the land of Edom, the nation of Edom, which in our generation, this is the Christians it's talking about. But look at this, let's read it again. In that time.
Hold on, we just got a big super chat. Let's read this. Thank you so much. Eru says, quote, if we can't have everything, we will ensure no one will have anything. Zionists. That is kind of the mindset. Our prophecies will be fulfilled, or we have the Samson option, and if you go against us, you will be crushed. If you're against us, you're against God, and we will destroy you. Thank you so much, Eru. I really appreciate it. Made my day. Wayne says, would you have Wayne? I'm not going to do these. Oh, you super chatted in one token and you're asking to come on the show. He's building gravity control, running for president, and lives in a shed in California desert. You guys want to see a guy on the show that's building a gravity control machine? I'll look up his name, see if I can find it, if I'm interested. Liam T. Jarrett again says, great show. Thanks, Liam. And we read the others. Thank you so much, Eru. You are the man. I don't recognize your name either, so I'm happy that you're here.
When Mashiach is about to come, a nation will wake up from the other side of the world. But they're not going to come against us. They're going against Romi. Romi Chayava. They're going to go against the land of Romi, which we know, we gave many times sources. Romi is the United States.
Rome is the United States. So they're gunning for the United States.
Vayigach ba, and he's going to go and wage war against the Romi. Karvatlat Yarchin. A huge war. 3 months the war will take. V'itkanshun taman amama v'yuplun b'yadayhu. Now what's going to happen? Many nations are going to come to this war. And the nation of Romi will fall into their hands.
America.
I mean, America is strong, but not when they're going against 3-4 armies.
Russia, China, Israel, Syria just joined the Belt and Road Initiative too. That's China's, that's Israel's Belt and Road Initiative that they just teamed up with. Could that be what the larger agenda was to what was going on in Syria? People always go, "Oh, if Putin's not a Zionist, then why would he save Assad and Syria from Israel?" And it's like, I think that might have been the disinfo line.
Kol bnei Edom ala mikol saifei alma, till all the sons of Edom, all the Christians from all sides of the world will gather together. There'll be a coalition. Americans, the British, the Canadians,
the West,
whatever there are.
They'll all be destroyed.
So they will have the upper hand. So look at the prophecies we're getting here. The ones who are coming from the other side of the world, they're going against the Romi, but nevertheless, they will control them, but they will later on have the upper hand. It says here that the Kadosh Baruch Hu will arise and will destroy completely the city of Edom and will completely uproot them.
That's America. The city of Edom is America to these people. This is what they're talking about. This is the agenda. We see all the Chabadniks there with Putin, in Ukraine with Zelensky, with Putin, with Biden, with Trump. The Battle of Gog and Magog, Chabad.org. Gog is Edom, Magog is Ishmael. The defeat of Gog and Magog will precipitate the messianic redemption. They need it to happen. They need to destroy America. They need to destroy Amalek. They need to have their war so that their Moshiach can come and they can build their temple and all of it. Gog and Magog. God will punish those nations who attack the Jews with a terrible plague. We see the pandemic going on right now as well. Animals will be stricken with illness. We see news reports of animals at the zoo catching COVID and everything. The Jews in the city will strike down the remaining troops and collect huge amounts of spoil. This is straight from Chabad.org. The plague will be the final downfall of the enemy, will take place on the Sukkot holiday. Very nice. The plague, Zechariah. This is the plague with which the Lord will strike all the nations that fought against Jerusalem. They will seize each other by hand and attack one another. The wealth of the surrounding Goyim will be collected, great quantities of gold and silver and clothing. And then the plague. So this is Zechariah too, where we see all of the story for Christianity. Zechariah 3, 6, and 9. And then we see this in the same book.
And the Russians are gang up together with Paras, Cush, and Put. Paras, says the prophet Ezekiel, he refers to Paras, Cush, and Put, could well be actually Persia. Paras is Persia,
Iran,
which is modern-day Iran. Cush, we're not too sure about who they are exactly, but that lies to the south of Egypt between the Nile Valley and the Red Sea, which is the eastern part of the Sudan. Put, according to Josephus, is actually Libya. So we're seeing that some kind of Middle Eastern battle in the Middle East revolving around Jews who predominantly will be in Israel, which by the way was a big prediction because the Jews have not predominantly been in the land of Israel for 2,000 years, but it's going to occur at that time. But one thing we do know is that they do turn up, they're going to attack us. Why are they attacking us? One opinion is because they're jealous of the Jewish people.
Yeah, we're jealous. That's always the case, right? Those goys are just jealous. What are they jealous about? Oh, well, that they control, they're rich, blah, 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 they're supremacists. Those are all tropes. You're jealous of us for things, but if you express any of that, point out any of those things and notice, it's tropes. How they have it both ways. It's just incredible. The Jacob-Esau dynamic. Here's Haaretz. 2014 when they were annexing Crimea. For your information, Putin equals Gog. Crimea is Magog. The apocalypse is here and the Messiah is coming. Not only Christian fans of Armageddon are buzzing. According to one rabbi, the Vilna Gaon himself predicted that when the Russians take Crimea, the steps of the Messiah will be heard. like this book, The Future of the U.S., UK, and Russia in Bible Prophecy by Trung Tien Dat, former senator of Vietnam. Yes, the Zionist infection has plagued the whole world. Nobody more so than America, though. Here's Benjamin Norton, who my suspicions tell me that he's a he openly calls people comrades. He's basically a Marxist Leninist pro-Putin guy. He says the crisis in Ukraine is part of the birth pangs of a new multipolar world order. That's the Dugan line. Multipolar means America gets taken down a few notches, if not destroyed, and Russia and China and Israel rise up. Birth pangs like the birth pangs of Moshiach, the birth pangs of the Moshiach, Gog and Magog, Armageddon, and the fall of Edom. This is what he's saying. He says this is an excellent, succinct analysis of how the U.S.-led imperialist system is desperate to stop the integration of Russia and China to maintain U.S. unipolar hegemony. This is the crisis of Ukraine the beginning of a new world order? Yes, and might as well put Netanyahu right up there with these guys, because they've been behind the scenes putting it all together as the masterminds. Just like the old Silk Road, all the merchants on the Silk Road. Here's Russian generals pray for peace at burial sites of Chabad Rebbe's, based Christian Russia, praying at the Chabad Rebbe sites. 15 Russian military men arrived to pray after hearing that all prayers are answered at the Jewish cemetery in the small town of Lubavitch. They even went to it's not surprising that the Chabad Rebbe's are buried in Lubavitch. The seventh final Rebbe, Schneerson, is buried in New York. Ivanka and Kushner go and visit that to get their prayers answered. Russian town credited as the birthplace of the Chabad movement. "75 Ukrainian Jews fled their country to make Aliyah due to the threat of Russian invasion." Russian generals, that's part of prophecy too. When Ukrainian Jews go to, where did I see that? That was breaking Israel news. Watch, Ukrainian Jews, Aliyah, Israel. Let's see what comes up. That's 3 days ago. 75 Ukrainian Jews make Aliyah. Ukrainian Jews emerge from the shadows. 10 days ago, Israel must prepare for immediate immigration of Ukrainian Jews. Oh, how convenient. Here it is. Jewish Federation. Ukrainian Jews relocate to Israel with Aliyah numbers up nearly 100%. That was back after Crimea. Tombstone of the Jewish cemetery of Chabad Lubavitch. The rabbi, this is rich. The rabbi hopes that the general's prayers will also be answered and that a war would be avoided. Yeah, right. They want this war. This means this is the birth pangs, the war that has to happen. This has to happen. They believe it's God's plan and it has to happen before the Moshiach comes. And then they're going to say that that they hope war is avoided. Nice ending. Here's another one too. Israel must, here, the headline is Syria strike, Russia's role, why Israel must be cautious on Ukraine. Because they're secretly with them. They're secretly with Russia. Not even secretly, it's in the open, but just some people like to think they're anti-Zionist. Israel must be cautious. Raul here. Israel must be cautious, but America needs to destroy Russia. Double standards from the chosen ones. Syria strike, Russia's role, why Israel may be cautious on Ukraine. Right now, while all this going on, we have Kevin McCarthy, the GOP leader, says Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, and it will always be. Thanks, Christians. I'm here this week leading dozens of House Republicans on a trip to reaffirm America's unwavering support for Israel. Meanwhile, they won't even join us with sanctions. Look, he even shows the old picture of him and Bibi. Oh, he probably met with Bibi, regardless. And with Bennett there, it looks like he's looking at, don't know what city that is. There he is at the Knesset, it looks like. Most likely. They took a whole team, as if there's nothing more important to be doing right now. They took a whole group of Republicans and Democrats. Nancy Pelosi was just there. I covered it, doing the same thing. So, doing their groveling about their unwavering, unequivocal, these words that they use for us serving them thanks to their Christians. There's Kevin McCarthy. He says unwavering, reaffirm. How many times do they have to reaffirm it? Pompeo does a tweet like every day saying Jerusalem's the capital, anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, I stand with Israel. Every day they have to do this. This is what you have to do to be a politician in America. But if we say, oh, they control our politicians and the Christians and the lobbies, oh, that's all tropes. You're a anti-Semitic, white supremacist, neo-Nazi for noticing any of that stuff. You're banned everywhere because the ADL said so. Unwavering support for Israel. And then we got Representative Burgess Owens, another GOP, says, proud to be on the ground in Israel this week with dozens of my House GOP colleagues. America first. They're all over in Israel getting their marching orders and groveling to the chosen ones in the Holy Land. He says, dozens of GOP colleagues. We're meeting with leaders across the Holy Land. Holy Zion. See, this is just so pathetic. Because of Christianity and our Judeo-Christian values, they worship the chosen ones in the Holy Land like they're God's people. And he says to reaffirm. Same word. It's like they got a talking point on what to tweet out. Tweet out that you reaffirm your unwavering commitment to Israel. They're reaffirming America's, not his unwavering commitment to Israel, but America's. He's speaking on behalf of all of us. Unwavering. Unwavering. Reaffirm America's unwavering support. Reaffirm America's unwavering support. Did you make it to the West Bank? Oh, there's our greatest ally, Netanyahu, with greatest spy, Jonathan Pollard. Putin and Netanyahu. That's a fake quote. Okay. Oh. Anomaly had a good one today, too. Let's cover this. I love when Anomaly digs into the Zionists. It's like he's one of the only big accounts to do it. So this woman, who I saw the clip, she says, honk, honk. Because they're honking their horns, that means honk, honk. That means Hail Hitler. That's what she says. Ordre. Oh, wait. Let's play. And I can't believe we're already an hour and 30 minutes in. Time flies by.
How many guns need to be seized? How much vitriol do we have to see of honk, honk, which is an acronym for Hail Hitler? Do we need to see by these protesters on social media?
How many honk honks are we going to see by protesters on social media? The honk honks got to end. I always thought honk honk meant clown world. Clown world, honk honk. The world is crazy, honk honk. You're crazy, honk honk. You're a clown, honk honk. No, they're saying it means Hail Hitler now. And this is what Trudeau said, that anybody that's for the trucker protest are Nazis, and you're with the people who fly swastikas. This is how ridiculous it all is. Turns out, it gets better. Just wait, it gets better. She is a dual citizen of Canada and Israel who stated that she is an unapologetic Zionist who believes passionately in the state of Israel. And he says, she would have to revoke her Canadian citizenship to serve in Israel's Knesset. Do you understand what's going on? Here she is. 5 new Knesset members renounce foreign citizenship. They have to renounce citizenship, but it's a trope. Ben Shapiro will tell you dual loyalty supposition is an anti-Semitism. To question anybody's loyalty is anti-Semitism. Ben Shapiro, who is going to announce the Moshiach, he tells Chabad that he's going to announce the Moshiach. Here's Chabad's website. At Moshiach Suda, there he is with the Chabad rabbi. Do I still have it saved? Where's the quotes? Okay, here it is. Ben Shapiro graciously accepted the task of delivering the message of Moshiach's arrival. He says, he joked that CNN wouldn't want to announce the fantastic news. Moshiach's arrival means the destruction of America in these rabbinical views, and the destruction of Esau and Edom, which is Gentiles, or more specifically Christianity, and the destruction of Amalek, which it means anybody that doesn't want to worship them as a Noahide. And this is one of the biggest guys of conservatism in America. Because if Republicans weren't all Christian, do you think this guy would be a millionaire in America? Talking about Republican politics? Just amazing. Now we got ended up with a little comical cartoons, and this is a little raunchy humor, but oh well, it made me laugh. Some jokes about Ben Shapiro's sister. Let's play. Ben Shapiro on Joe Rogan cartoon.
I get it, Joe. My sister Abigail Shapiro has ginormous milkers. I get it. People want to, I get it. People want to, I get it. But God clearly said, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Or my sister's ridiculous breasts. Okay? I get it, Joe. My sister Abigail Shapiro has ginormous milkers.
So there's one. Apparently she had she's a conservative influencer also, a trad Jewish girl. And she just put out some pregnancy photos. Her boobs look really big, unsurprising because she's pregnant and her belly's huge. I'm even seeing people say that the photos were photoshopped on Reddit or something to made to look bigger. There's also a photoshopped tweet of Ben Shapiro talking about how he's staring at his sister all day. I sent that to Henrik. I was on with Red Ice the other day, and he sent me this clip, which is by another cartoon.
I'm so glad we came.
By another cartoon type of thing. Cartoon creator. I thought this was pretty funny too. It's face morph of Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson.
I'm so glad we came to this ordinary coffee shop. Have you been here before? No, I would never come to a place like this. We are the thought leaders. We are the thought leaders of the Cultural Revolution. And the thing is, like, it's important for us, as the higher level people, to show up in these kind of lower end, normal coffee shop. I can hang out with peasants. I can hang out with the Gentiles. I can hang out with the scum of the earth in a coffee shop for a very small period of time, but I will do it. And the other thing is, what do you think the other thing is, Jordan?
I can hang out with the peasants, the Gentiles, the scum of the earth. So funny. So hilarious. I want to just quote clip that one part and have that at the ready to post on Twitter. Fork Faced. I've never heard of these guys, but this one is hilarious.
Why is it important that we meet up? Well, if we come to public, both people. I can hang out, normal coffee shop. I can hang out with peasants. I can hang out with the Gentiles. I can hang out with the scum of the earth in a coffee shop for a very small period of time, but I will do it. And the other thing is, what do you think the other thing is, Jordan? Why is it important that we meet up? Well, if we come to public, both people know you and me, and they know that we both got the jabby jab. And so what it does is it establishes sort of an agreement.
Jordan Peterson, by the way, has been shilling for Christianity so hard recently. That should be a huge red flag to everybody, that he's getting on the Christ grift, praising the Bible, talking about his love for Jesus. He's always been a secular atheist guy, and now, just like Dave Rubin did the same thing, the whole intellectual dark web with the Weinsteins and Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan, and even Alex Jones is almost in this circle a little bit. Ben Shapiro, I'm forgetting somebody, intellectual dark web. Peter Thiel groupies, basically, via the Weinsteins.
It establishes a relationship between people you know who got the jabby jab and meeting in public. That is why it was so important to be caught dancing with my wife in a busy saloon. You knew? It's like you're like, well, look, he's celebrating. That's great. He's dancing. It's very awkward. But underneath that is a subtext. And the subtext is, get your jabby jab, and you can also go out to the saloon and possibly see Peterson spin his wife around. It's messaging. If we go out in the public and we meet at this coffee shop, it demonstrates that we are maskless, but we are jabbed, and we can actually hang out in the public. And that's why it's important to do these things in public and not in a studio. Again, manufacture the consent. Manufacturing consent. We are making culture here, folks.
We are making culture here, folks. I could sit in a coffee shop with the peasants, with the Gentiles, with the scum of the earth. So funny. I love it. Hilarious. I posted that on Telegram, by the way. If you guys aren't following me on Telegram, I post some things there that I don't post on Twitter. Okay, here. This is just the irony in this satire spoof tweet is just the best. Elaine Goldschmidt says the anti-Semitic trolls are acting like they are Jewish to create a divide. Who does that? Who acts like another ethnicity for the sole purpose of creating discord among that community? Absolutely disgusting. Genius inversion there. Inversion on top of inversion to expose reality of the fellow whites, the fellow white phenomena that we see so often. That was a good one. Here's another one. This is February 16th. Ukraine passes law criminalizing anti-Semitism. Amended, this is what they want in America and all around the world. Preventing and countering anti-Semitism in Ukraine passed in 2021 to add criminal liability. Russia has similar laws also. And there he is taking Ukraine. Let's see what else we have here. I wanted to announce, remember, tomorrow is David Skirbina, professor. We're going to talk about tech and Jesus and whatever else comes up. It's just going to be a kind of a casual stream, podcast style conversation on the Kill Stream with Ethan Ralph. It's booked officially now, March 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be discussing Christianity with E. Michael Jones on the Kill Streams Blood Sports. So everybody set your calendars for that. Should be fun. Here's an interesting story. Thomas Massey from Congressman Thomas Massey says $58,000 per household. That's how much money the federal government spent in the name of fighting COVID. In the name of COVID. Even if you consider the vaccines a success, which we don't, they allegedly cost less than $50 each. Where was all that money spent? What could your family have done with $58,000? Probably to propaganda, I'd say, or just to line the pockets of these cronies. Let's see what else we have. I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Gotten a little tiff back and forth with Styx. Styx was shilling for Trump's new social media platform. Truth, what is it called? Truth.com. Imagine still going to bat for Trump, who Gab said that the Trump people approached them and talked about Trump getting on Gab, but that they needed to ban people or otherwise he wouldn't do it. Yeah, go sign up for their platform. I'm sure Trump, the Zionist, is going to stand up for free speech to criticize Zionism. Have to be delusional to think that. Oh, and of course, I don't know. I don't want to just gloss over it, but it's already almost old news now. Jean-Luc Brunel, the model agency guy that was involved with Epstein, found hanged in his prison cell shortly after the settlement of Prince Andrew and the Ghislaine Maxwell case concluding. Just another loose end being silenced, tying up some loose ends, while the people behind the Epstein network are more powerful and marching along. Just amazing. They didn't even go for a new line. He hung himself just like Epstein. Oh, what about the cameras? They were off just like Epstein. Yep. Imagine my shock. Just ridiculous. Jean-Luc Brunel, who was photographed wearing an Israeli intelligence hat, and who had an office in Israel, apparently, as well. Suicided. Not sure if I showed this either. It's been a while since my stream. Washington Post tweets out an article saying, the notion of freedom was historically and remains intertwined with whiteness. So if you want freedom, you're a white supremacist now. It's only those evil white supremacists that talk about having freedom. The belief that one's entitlement to freedom is a key component of white supremacy. See, anybody that whites are for freedom can't have that. So insane that they've got such chutzpah to try to get away with this stuff. Oh, here's another. Here, we can just scoot this over here. Mail Online, Daily. What is this? Daily Mail. More evidence COVID was tinkered with in a lab. Now scientists find virus contains tiny chunk of DNA that matches a sequence patented by Moderna 3 years before the pandemic began. Telegraph UK says Wuhan lab leak believed behind closed doors to be the likeliest origin of COVID. According to the UK government, privately believes that a lab leak is the likeliest origin of COVID-19. Funny how anybody that said that was banned from the internet and called a conspiracy theorist. Oh, this should be good. Trump-loving evangelical Christian.
And Hillary Clinton tried. You want a clear villain in this story? It's hard to make Putin the villain if you have all the facts. Because the CIA and Hillary Clinton tried to invade Russia to undercut Putin, to bring the LGBT doctrine in. They had activists there. Putin locked it down, kicked them out, and clamped down like a good dictator does. You want a clear villain?
Wow. That's what they want Trump to do, huh? Trump's going to save us from the LGBTQ agenda. Is that why he stood up on stage with the rainbow flag and appointed the gay Zionist Christian, Richard Grenell, to the highest position of any gay person ever? Because he's going to save him. Hey, China, the Soviet Union wasn't for that kind of stuff in the Soviet Union. They promoted it elsewhere to subvert, but does that mean the Soviet Union was based because they were anti-LGBTQ? Or China? China doesn't like that stuff. Does that mean they're base? Some people would argue yes. I argue that it's just not that they're base, it's just that we're being subverted and we're being targeted for destruction. Like a good dictator would. That's what they want, as a dictator too. They want Trump to save. This is the kind of the mindset that a lot of people are having right now. You're banned from social media, homophobe. So this is like the left versus the right, basically. You're fired from your job, racist. Your bank accounts are canceled, fascist. Come on, we're going to war with Russia. I'm not going. I hope they kill you. Russian flag, and now you're a traitor. I love how it's like, it's just because it's the left in power, they're rooting for Russia. as if Trump and his people didn't facilitate so many bad things, so much censorship. Trump signs anti-Semitism bills. Trump says he's going to eradicate anti-Semitism. He didn't do anything to stop social media censorship. His people the people around Trump do the same cancel culture tactics. The Zionists are all about censoring and getting you fired from your job. So I'm not about turning against America and going along with the dialectic to usher in the end times. Fiction? Bumper sticker? T-shirt? Fiction? Kenyan speech about Ukraine?
Our borders were not of our own drawing. Kenya and almost every African country was birthed by the ending of empire. Our borders were not of our own drawing. They were drawn in the distant colonial metropoles of London, Paris, and Lisbon, with no regard for the ancient nations that they cleaved apart. Today, across the border of every single African country live our countrymen with whom we share deep historical, cultural, and linguistic bonds. At independence, had we chosen to pursue states on the basis of ethnic, racial, or religious homogeneity, we would still be waging bloody wars these many decades later.
This is a boring speech.
Instead, we agreed that we would settle for the borders that we inherited, but we would still pursue continental political, economic, and legal integration, rather than form nations that looked ever backwards into history.
Look at this. Is interesting. This is an example of a Russian bot. So I just post this. I posted the wrong clip and said independent. That was actually for the other clip. And then we get Tsar Putin, 0 followers, 0 following. Tsar Putin. Adam Green is on the same page as Bill Kristol and neoliberal blue check Mark Punditry. No, I'm not. You're a effing flaming fanook. That's what he says. Laugh out loud, laugh out loud, laugh out loud. This is the type of things you see from Russian bots with no followers. And I've been getting them all day. Yeah, I'm with all the neocons. I'm not calling for a war with Russia, by the way. I'm just calling for not. I can see the cultural subversion and how it's worked to demoralize, and how this is all part of the plan, and how this is all fulfilling the prophecy. Giving my analyze on things. They love to play this game. Oh, if you're not on this side, you're with that side. If you're not with Trump, you're with Hillary. Same exact argument, right? You're not with Trump, you're with Hillary and Biden. And then the other side says the same thing. Just anytime you talk about Russia, you get the bots come out. I've noticed that early on, back when I was on YouTube, you'd talk about Putin and inundated with trolls. Biden says gas prices might rise due to sanctions.
Defending freedom will have cost for us as well, and here at home. We need to be honest about that. But as we do this, I'm going to take robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy, not ours. We're closely defending freedom will have cost for us as well, and here at home. We need to be honest about that.
Jimmy Dore, who goes on RT and is leftist towing the line. He says, our propaganda is so good that they got people on the left to support Nazis in Ukraine. See, that's the Nazis. So all Ukrainians that don't want to join Russia are Nazis. That's the dialectic they try to set up. If you fall for that nonsense, you're obviously brainwashed. Pompeo says, for 4 years, the left parroted the hoax that our administration was weak on Russia, yet they didn't dare invade Ukraine on our watch, but now they do. What do you think? Who do you think Putin feared more? 24,000 likes on that one. Very popular. Lee Stranahan, who worked for Sputnik, with Russian Sputnik, says Russia is targeted because it's a breakaway republic from globalism. Is that why Klaus Schwab says that he's involved, that Putin and Russia are involved with the Great Reset and the World Economic Forum? Is that why Putin is so friendly with Chabad Lubavitch and Netanyahu and Israel and China, because he's a breakaway republic? Is that why China is involved with Russia is involved with the Belt and Road Initiative, because they're a breakaway republic? All right, and I think Ivanka Trump, by the way, World Economic Forum Young Global Leadership from 2015. Anybody surprised by that? I'm certainly not. Look at this. Richard Spencer says, for a while, the dissident sphere has widely claimed that a war over Ukraine isn't happening. Wag the dog. Only Washington wants war, etc. Perhaps this came from a base urge to contradict the MSM or offer esoteric takes. Perhaps some are actual Russian shills. It's surprising to me. I'd like to get a few Johnny Gatt's take on this thread. I wish he was around. If you're there, Johnny, check out this thread and let me know what you think. Richard Spencer calling other people Russian shills is not what I expected. Jeffrey Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel, Ghislaine Maxwell, Prince Andrew with all the money tried to pay off the Grim Reaper. Nice meme. From the World Economic Forum, this is the most frightening thing I've ever watched. I haven't watched it yet.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. Now, how exactly will the future masters of the planet look like? This will be decided by the people who own the data. Now, why is data so important? It's important because we've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Now, what do you need?
What's going on?
We've reached the point when we can hack not just computers, we can hack human beings and other organisms. Now, what do you need in order to hack?
Chat, I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't elaborate any further. The neo-Nazi groups that they use to discredit nationalists in Ukraine, the Azov battalion, I believe Azov is a Hebrew word. There's Jews that fight in this. It's funded by Jews. Israel is arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. So they use this. So this benefits Russia to say, oh, they're all not. You see, you hear the Russian shill saying this. Oh, they're literally fighting neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Ukraine is neo-Nazis. You're a neo-Nazi if you don't want to join with Russia. Israel is arming those groups, the Azov battalion. Ukraine's far-right war with Russia can be an opportunity. Rights groups demand Israel stop arming neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Is Israel trying to hide arm exports to neo-Nazi militias in Ukraine? They're about funding every side of conflicts. This is the trick, full spectrum dominance to engineer these wars. More of the same. So yes, thank you, chat. I only touched on. I talked about that with Henrik actually on his show. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, I think we're about done. We're about to hit the 2-hour mark. We want to keep it under that. Like this, Patrick Howley. This guy's been railing against Zionists lately. Regardless of whether Putin is the last hope for nationalism, he's the enemy of our enemy, and I want him to defeat the Sleepy Joe globalists out of pure spite. So you're so mad that the leftists are in control right now, even though that you probably believe Trump is going to win in 2024. I think it's a good chance he'll be back. But you want America to lose to communist KGB dictators that aligned with Russia and China. That's the wrong take to have, in my opinion. You can not like the left, obviously, but to say you're siding with Russia over America and call yourself America first, I think you should side with America regardless if it's the left or the right is in power over KGB communist dictators. Just my opinion. And you're seeing Nick Fuentes say the same things. Here, I'll show it actually, since I mentioned something that caught my eye. That Alex Jones says the same thing. Here it is. Stop moving. Nick says, Russia first. Trump supporters back Russia against evil U.S. empire. This is such communist subversion to tote this narrative. These guys are all fans of Darren Beatty as well. Revolver News. He is. I really question if he's a Russian asset because he's always tweeting about NATO, anti-NATO, pro-Russian stuff, nonstop. So evil U.S. empire. It sounds like Dugan. Just like Nick said that he wants China and Russia to have a Eurasian bloc to save us from the Jewish censorship. Remember when Nick said that? Can't find the clip. Shoot. That should come up. Here, maybe if I say Russia. Oh, that's because I'm in images. That's why. And I just realized I wasn't showing this all along. Sorry. Russia first. Trump supporters back Russia against evil U.S. empire. This was just recently, too.
When are white people going to be liberated? When are Americans going to be liberated from our country? And this is why I always talk about it's not the worst thing in the world if another country becomes more powerful than America. It's not the worst thing in the world if Russia becomes more powerful than America. I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. But
it's not the worst thing in the world if Russia becomes more powerful than America. Have you ever heard a less America first statement?
If Russia becomes more powerful than America, I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. But if China and Russia team up, or if some other coalition teams up,
if Russia and China team up to save us from censorship. I did a whole video about this when I first saw it. This is like very suspicious, sketchy takes from the leader of America First, wanting Russia and China and Israel to team up to destroy America.
If there is some collection of countries that can exert influence in the other direction, wouldn't that be a good thing? Wouldn't it be a good thing if we had people talking about our civil rights and their country like we're talking about?
No, Putin says that you're racist and America's racist because of slavery. That's his take.
The civil rights of Cubans and ours? Wouldn't it be great if Poland or Italy or Hungary, or what if there was a right-wing European Union? What if there was a Eurasian coalition led by Russia that had an open technology fund?
Eurasian coalition led by Russia,
which would support freedom of speech in America? What if China made a censorship-proof social media for Americans?
Right.
That was free from the censorship of Visa, MasterCard, ADL, SPLC, like ACLU, and all the others. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Wouldn't that be a good thing if there was something greater than and without, meaning outside of America, that could pressure America into doing the right thing? Into supporting the opposition against the American regime? And supporting the human rights and the civil rights of the American?
Here's Alex Jones. So there's Trump supporters back Russia against evil U.S. empire. How could you call yourself America First and ever back a foreign nation over your own country? Just because Trump's not in? Because your Zionist daddy Trump's not in power? Now it's you'd rather root for the enemy? Here's another one, Samira Khan. There's a lot of Arabs that are always really going for Putin as well. All right. Here's Alex Jones saying Netanyahu and Putin and Alex Jones, Netanyahu and Putin can't be bought.
Guess who you can't buy? Me. And by the way, people like me built civilization. You know, used to, folks, any good civilization had some good people in it who would stand for something, you know? That's why we're in so much trouble. The fact that I'm not for sale and a few other people aren't for sale, like people like Matt Drudge, Donald Trump.
Who's not for sale? Alex Jones? He's doing a little rant about the real men. I always cough when I do the Alex Jones voices. He's talking about the real men that are nationalists that are going to save the world.
Sale. Like people like Matt Drudge, Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu. It's such a religion to attack Benjamin Netanyahu. But Benjamin Netanyahu stands up for his country. I'm proud to defend Netanyahu. He's got his own problems. He's done corrupt stuff, all sorts of things in wars and deals.
Alex Jones, quote, proud to defend Netanyahu, Alex Jones.
And even worked, you know, in the fight with Syria, and I thought that was wrong. But he's under attack by the globalists. He's under attack by Soros. That means the Rothschilds, because they want Israel for their grand design, and they want to break it up.
Yeah, the Rothschilds want Israel for the grand design. They have Israel. They want to break it up. No, they don't. They want the whole world to die in Armageddon wars. They want to break up Israel for the grand design. Alex Jones trying to act like he knows about the plan of the Rothschilds.
Because they want Israel for their grand design, and they want to break it up. Just like they want to break up America, just like they want to break up Spain, like they want to break up Japan. They want to break all our countries up to dominate us, and I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
It's evil.
Netanyahu and the Rothschilds want to break up Israel. Exactly, Alex Jones. Great take.
So all the crazy people that hate Jews and make it their religion to hate them on the left and right, celebrating Netanyahu or Trump getting in trouble, you're idiots. The whole evil global media combine is trying to destroy any sovereign country. Does that mean Putin's perfect? No, but I admire him because he runs his country and stands up for his own people and is going against the grain. And
stands up for his own people. Remember the clip from the rabbi from earlier? What did he say? Putin may not be good for the people of Russia, but he's good for the Jews.
Has the whole world coming after him. And that's the globalist big fear, is that countries like the UK and the US and Israel and Russia and Japan and South Korea, who want to have open free societies, who want to be free market, who want to live in peace, that we work together because we'll outproduce and outdevelop all the rest of these countries combined. And that's why we're under attack. And that's why they're trying to put Netanyahu in jail. And it's why they're trying to put me in jail. It's why they're trying to put Trump in jail. We're the men in the arena.
The men in the arena. Netanyahu, Trump, and Alex Jones. It kind of reminds me of, he sounds exactly like Mel K, the Zionist, half-Israeli actress that says the Nazis are in charge. Alex Jones says the same thing. She says that Putin and the alliance and QAnon and Alex
and them. The good thing is, regardless of how people have been infighting, the good thing about
mind you, this girl is one of the top channels on BitChute, top trending every day with takes that the Nazis are still in charge. The people with God, the Christians and the Jews are the good guys. The Zionists are the good guys, and that Putin and Trump are the alliance with the white hats and QAnon that are going to save us from the deep state and the cabal.
the back channel in the last 4 years is we know who they are. I always say to Charlie, I know he said it a long time ago, knowing who the real enemy is will make all the difference. Because then you won't be looking at your neighbors and the low level politicians. You just realize that they're pawns, and it's not about them. What it's really about is that they got to that place where they were so corrupt and so manipulated or blackmailed or whatever that they just played the I say Hollywood game, but played the DC game all this time, knowing that they were betraying we the people in my country and all of our countries. And at the end of the day, it's all of us have the same enemy. That's why I say that G7 meeting in the very beginning, I think, with Trump, when he invited Putin and everyone went crazy. How is he inviting Putin? And I believe something happened at that meeting. Maybe, maybe not. But it appears that's who I think the alliance is. I think it's a group of people that want this central bank overlords that are running this world, the financially and Charlie, the 23 quadrillion we talked about on like our first show a year and a half ago. But I think it's come to the end, and you're watching the corporations. That's how you know the corporations are doing their dirty work. It's just admitting to everyone what we know.
Okay, she's got another one where she talks about Putin. Putin's in the alliance. Putin's the good guy, says Mel K, the Zionist that says the Nazis are still in charge and promotes QAnon. Here's the other one.
To the American people who are beginning to wake up to the truth that the system is completely corrupt and contaminated.
With Charlie Ward, this total con artist that's top trending every day too. He's also, if you go to BitChute, which I suggest everybody watching on BitChute, sign up for Odyssey because of this Charlie Ward, Mel K situation over at BitChute and the how they allow bots in the troll comments. Charlie Ward advertisements, every time you open up BitChute, you get a Charlie Ward advertisement. In other words, he's basically paying the bills at BitChute now. Teaming up with this guy, accepting money from this con artist makes you lose credibility, in my book. Compromised platform when you're taking money from this guy.
And it will have to go to the military tribunal. But that is a good thing because a lot of people are overlooking the fact they think Biden's the president. Of course, most people who know what's going on know he's not. Because at this moment in time, the military are in control in America. Not Trump, not Biden, the military. The military are not signed up to protect any president. They're to protect the Constitution and the people of the United States of America.
Right.
And when you wake up to that fact, then you'll realize the rest of it's a load of bollocks.
Totally. And, totally. It's amazing that, people are, so people are just losing hope, losing faith. And I can't believe that.
God wins. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Trust the plan. We're with God. God wins. This is what this girl says every day. Top trending. Ultra Zionist propagandist. Meanwhile, all we hear about is how BitChute is full of neo-Nazis and anti-Semitism and conspiracy theories. And then they say QAnon's anti-Semitic. That's why they got to censor everything. And then the leaders of all of it is all of these kosher disinformation agents that worship Trump and Putin.
You believe in God, which obviously I do and you do. God is never, ever, ever going to allow, God and the alliance is going to allow America to be a communist country. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Look at where we're at right now. Look at the LGBTQ situation in the country. Look at all the corruption in our country. God will never let it happen. Oh, just like God wouldn't let the millions die in World War II, the millions slaughtered in the Bolshevik Revolution.
And that's one thing. Second thing, if you've noticed, which I'm sure you have, it is Putin and the other people who are opting out of the central bank cabal stuff. One thing people might not.
Also, they'll say, "Oh, it's the Russian hoax, Russiagate. There's no collusion." And then on the other side of their mouth, they say, "Oh, but there's an alliance. There's a secret, deep alliance with Trump and Putin." But there's no collusion. That's a leftist conspiracy theory.
Understand is Russia is not the enemy of the United States. Russia cares about Russia. Putin cares about Putin. Putin is Russia first, as Donald Trump is America first.
Yeah.
What is going on is that our media.
Yeah, there you have it. Just like Putin's Russia first, just like Trump is America first. So I guess that means he's Israel first. He's Jews first, like the rabbi said. The rabbi said, "Oh, it's at the end of my clip. We'll find it. We'll play what the rabbi said. Just like Trump is America first, Putin is America first." I guess I agree with that. Where? Oh, there it is.
Mentality. And this is part of Poland and Russia, Judaism in Russia, even though he's not so popular right now in the United States, has been the friendship to the Jewish world of the president of Russia, which is Vladimir Putin. And you have to ask yourselves, why is this so? I heard a great line from a professor of mathematics in Novosibirsk. He told me like this: Putin may not be good for Russia, but he's definitely good for the Jews of Russia. Putin may not be good for Russia, but he's definitely good for the Jews of Russia. That's your America. That's a take from a Chabad rabbi, by the way. Talk about, and their beards are just so gross to me. I like a nice, trimmed, shaped beard. These just like 12-inch long pubes hanging from his chin is just so gross to me. I'm sorry. Shape it up. It's one of the commandments that they're not allowed to trim their hairs, and that's what you get.
So there's Mel K's idea of America first. Sounds like Alex Jones.
Central bankers are pissed that Putin kicked them out of his country.
Correct.
He's the one.
Putin did not kick out the Rothschilds, and he only got rid of like a couple oligarchs. Meanwhile, he consolidated power with the rest of the Chabad oligarchs.
And he's not alone because, of course, him and Trump are working in cahoots and have been the whole time.
Oh.
They really, their biggest thing that they agree on is the child sex trafficking,
right?
The destruction of family,
the Q issues,
kicking out of God of society, and Judeo-Christian values.
Oh, there it is. Judeo-Christian values. Trump and Putin love those Judeo-Christian values. Thanks, Mel K.
And basically taking care of their own countries first. So this goes against the face of everything that the cabal wants. And if people still don't believe in the cabal and haven't done the research on the UN and the World Economic Forum and the IRS and the Fed.
Oh my gosh. This, I can't say your name, but says they can't trim their beards, but they have to cut off the end of their dicks. Yes. Completely backwards.
That's their issue. Because once you do that, you'll understand a lot more. But these Joe Biden cuckoos, they're really the most dangerous people I've ever seen in my life. And if you ever heard Wesley Clark, General Wesley Clark, one time.
They're dangerous on both sides. Keep it real. They're dangerous on both sides. I like that. What, you guys aren't trusting the plan, says Swan? No, we're not trusting the plan. Sorry. Liam T. Jarrett says, Roseanne is the most obvious Q Israel shill. Yes, she is. I've got an old clip. I think I may have played it one time, but Roseanne attacked me as an anti-Semite and then talked about her love for Q. Liam T. Jarrett says, Poland is kind of based, I think. I don't know what to believe. I know it's a hard job to really sift through the propaganda from both sides and try to figure out what's really going on and who's really in the right, if anybody's in the right. David Bernstein wants me to play a song called Oy Vey, Shut It Down. Russell Brassen says, Jays believe in censorship more than anybody else. Oh, this is a quote from Malcolm X. Jays believe in censorship more than anybody else. All you got to do is start talking about Jews, and you'll find all the papers will close up on you. Well, that's just a trope, but it's true. And if you say it, you'll be censored. Oh, we got another tip. All right, that looks like all of it. All right, guys, we're wrapping it up. Thank you all so much for watching. NoMoreNews.org to find all my links. Go to follow on Gab, Telegram, Twitter. Sign up for Subscribestar, a couple $1 a month to help keep No More News going. I was just banned from Patreon and could really use the support this month. Took a huge dent. Don't let the ADL take a win by getting me banned from Patreon. Turn that loss into a win for me. Help support. Help me continue my videos. Tomorrow with David Skirbina. I'll see you guys for that. Next week we got Dr. Michael Brown. And he's in a couple weeks. We'll work out the schedule. We got the EMJ kill stream debate next month. Dr. Brown, the secular Israeli, we're going to have him on as well. Adar. And I appreciate all the support tonight, especially. Thank you so much. Eru, thanks. Liam T. Jarrett, Instinct. Rassel Frassen, Pagan Bear, you guys are all awesome. See you guys again tomorrow. Have a nice night.